Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barry and Mac Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports forms coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing tonight, D-Mac?
It felt kind of good to hear the season one entire intro video. I was like, okay, remember we had Buddy Make It and the whole
Oh,
nine
dude.
episodes? Yeah, man, that was good stuff. Doing well. God is good. Um, Salute to my Sooner Nation. The hiatus, we've been schedules twisted and turning and all the good things, but glad to be back on. A lot to discuss: softball, basketball. Shout out to you guys for taking out our nemesis for us. I will be unofficially going for the Thunder, so we don't need to talk no smack. Let's get the Thunder victory. Wouldn't be have an issue with that. I'm good, man. I'm good. Life is lifing. You know what I'm saying? Business in the summertime is very busy for me. And I secured 2 college visits. So I just created a new coaching curriculum. By the way, if you're a coach in the Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and or Dallas area, and you would like me to come speak to your team about championship culture, I will do it for anyone who listens to our show for free. Just so you guys know, colleges are paying me $5,000 for 30 minutes. Get in the business of being an influencer in some capacity. But if you are a listener on this show and are a coach, I would love to come and speak to your team about how translating championship culture in college football translated to becoming a champion in life and business afterwards. It's been a journey as an entrepreneur, retiring from education 7 years ago and then building a multiple 7-figure business, which is pretty dope. So yeah, man, life is life in busy schedule, things happening, crack-a-lacking. Shout out to the Sooner ladies for taking care of business in regionals.
Yeah,
And
getting it done, run ruling,
let's get to it.
just like God intended.
Smacked up on Cal, right? That's my hometown team. I wanted to go to Cal. If Cal offers me in '97, I never leave the Bay Area. Stanford offered me. I wanted to
Oh
go to
yeah, yeah.
Stanford. I wanted to go to Stanford, but Cal was like, it's just like a kid from Moore wanting to go to OU. Like Delta O'Neal, I could name Andre Carter. They had dudes coming out during those years. Nothing like OU. I would have played OU. How about that? My
You would
freshman year,
have
I
freshman
would have
year.
played OU in Norman. Anyway, God works in mysterious ways.
Would you have played with Aaron Rodgers, or would you have barely missed him?
Nah.
I think you would have barely missed him.
Because he was a JUCO guy, I think I would have missed him. He went to JUCO first. He
Oh,
wasn't a he
that's right.
wasn't a
He
straight out of
was
college guy.
JUCO. Yeah.
I, they had I forgot they had some decent cues.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all like 5'11", 6 foot, could throw the rock. Cal had decent. Listen, in my years,
Oh yeah.
Cal had decent talent. They weren't. I mean, they were better than OU. They beat OU in Berkeley in '97, and then they came to Norman and beat us 13-12. My redshirt freshman year.
Man, well, yeah, shout out OU softball. Man, just back to getting things done. It's been a hard year, but when you are young and youthful like that, and not to segue to the Thunder too hard, but man, Thunder also getting it done. I know we have a lot of Thunder fans on here. Watched that entire game here this afternoon. OKC looks like the real deal. They might have taken out I would say this, with Gordon healthy, they just beat the toughest starting 5 left in the playoff. I think that is the toughest 5 that they will play. New York, to me, would be number 2, but Randall from Minnesota doesn't move the needle. Now, if Cat was still playing for Minnesota, I would have a different opinion. That's why I think
You just said Randall doesn't move the needle.
no, not for me.
Like
Not for playing against
historically or
OKC.
this year, because he's balling in these playoffs.
He's balling, but
27 and 12,
you're
27 and 12.
totally right. But watching what OKC just did to Jokic, and then the thing that they just pulled here today with putting Caruso on him, which man, was like a brilliant coaching move. Hadn't done that all the whole time, and then
Timeout. They did it last game. They did it game 5.
no,
They did it.
not like they did it
Not
not like they
exclusively.
did it in
Not
7,
exclusively,
because
but
they
you can
didn't
see.
even play. They hardly
Yeah, yeah,
played.
yeah.
Chet didn't even guard him. I think Chet got him like twice.
Only on the
Um,
switch. So that's what
only
they're
on the
doing.
switch.
Fariso is guarding him very all the way once he got past the 3-point line, so that when the switches came, he was hugging them the whole game, putting the elbow.
Yeah, it was
Hey,
brilliant.
phenomenal. I loved it. I
Yeah,
love
yeah, they let the contact go. It's brilliant. But guys, OU Insider bringing you this podcast just like always. Shout out to them, helping the production, all the quality, all this go out to you guys. But let's get things started with some recent news. Nico Jandro, 3-star safety, who is, I know the guys, Parker, Brandon, they've talked about this. We won't really belabor it because I know we like getting into kind of the nuts and bolts, and there's some other discussion I want to get to. But he's a player who is probably not going to come to Oklahoma and just be, an immediate impact guy right off the bat. Looks like a guy who, if the commitment stays true, stays with OU, he's probably a year and a half at least development player. Still has to get the speed and the acceleration up. He moves pretty well, but the ultimate goal here is to get the brother, right? I think that feels like the if we're just being totally honest about this, that feels like what the overall goal here, the big picture of it all is. D-Mac, what are your thoughts?
First things first, I just gotta do this, B. It's been a minute. What's up, Kimberly? What's up, Sooner Cowboys? What's going on, Mac and Jimmy and the rest of just the regulars? You guys be on here with us. It's been a while. I just wanted to show some love. Some of you guys are saying what's up in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
You want the good, the bad, or the ugly? Which one do you want first?
Let's do good, because I think we might get to some ugly later on. Let's do
The
good.
well, I'm talking relative to this kid, Nico.
Okay, sure.
The good as it relates to him is that he has versatility. You watch his film as a high school player, and he's a guy who could grow into a backer. And to be honest with you, I firmly believe they are going to look at him primarily, if not exclusively, as a second level defender. So I don't want to put a tag or an actual position on him just yet,
Mm-hmm.
but what I do know is he triggers well. What I do know is he operates well in I don't he doesn't I don't know about the hole, but on the curl to flat area, which is a backer zone, right? So sink on the curl, buzz to the flat, carry an under route, a 5 to 7 yard under route. I think those are areas he can operate primarily in a zone style defense where you got a lot
Yeah.
of multiple things happening and guys are, they have responsive. It's really a matchup, right? But it's a zone concept. I think those are attributes that he can bring to the table. I also think this is something that isn't discussed enough. If a whiskey or Minnesota, let me use some SEC references, maybe a Kentucky or like a Mississippi State or something like that. He's the type of guy that goes to a school like that because he's a little under the echelon of a program like OU and develops into somebody who could be a dude. So like
Yeah.
I want to make sure like the ceiling we discuss as it relates to Nico, I don't want to bad mouth his potential, but at face value today, right? 2026 recruit, he's not per se the caliber of recruit that OU needs to hope to have in order to compete at the highest level in the recruiting world. That doesn't mean we can't develop the kid. But in terms of like how, Johnny's to Joe's on the recruiting level, right? You're talking about Switzer. He bowed to nobody, right? Bob in his heyday could go into Texas and take the best dudes, go into SoCal and take the best dudes, go into JUCO and take the best dudes. Bob when he was Bob. This is a guy who, if we had our first or second pick, I don't think he'd be a guy. But when I'll get to the bad, I'll speak to what that also means. But the other thing is this, and I think we spoke to this, or maybe it's been so long since we've done one of these, Barry, that I haven't said this publicly on the pod. But
Mm-hmm.
I believe I believe Nagy is much more aligned to a criteria for a player than kind of like the eyeball test or
Yeah,
like the sixth sense or
I
like,
agree.
oh, the diamond in the rough, right? So I feel like Nagy's position with recruiting is more so like, hey, we want to get second level defenders who fit this criteria, this height, this weight, this speed, this level of competition. Like there's probably 5 or 6 differentiators that he says I want us to do before we can take them serious. And I think the good data point to verify that's the kid from Norman North, the receiver who
Mm.
EJ really liked. And, Parker, I think, has a relationship with the kid, but Nagy comes in and says he just doesn't fit our criteria. So we kind of want to play him soft. Right. I think on the other side of the coin, the Nico kid's a guy who has some size, who has some depth to him, but he's not necessarily stiff. It's just the lack of athleticism at the highest level that is
100%.
a starter caliber player at an SEC top shelf school. I think Nagy's like, this is a kid that we can um, gamble with a little bit. And then the other piece is he's also a kid, which is the bad. I feel like he's being recruited heavily because he has a brother that could potentially be a package deal who is a much more versatile level 2 or level 3 caliber player.
Yeah, to me, and it's kind of hard. 15, 20 years ago, we wouldn't really grade guys on like what are they today. But right now, impact and immediate impact means so much because of the portal
Yep.
that you almost have to. It's really not a differentiator of like on the margins. It's more like, is he a day one impact player or is he not? And that's really where the grading starts. And then from there, you kind of pull the guys into different categories. And you can't, it's just like the NBA, NFL, you can't pay tons of superstar players. You have to, at some point, find some guys on the margins who, you can pay a low six-figure, the kind of salary and get them to be something special. So for me, I think you echo the point. He's not a guy who in the SEC is going to turn his hips and run with the best receivers in the league. He's a guy who, similar to a Dolby, could be a situational nickel. He just doesn't have the explosiveness and the pop yet to the movement that Dolby has. But I do think some of that can be developed. And OU's probably, they're just looking at that and saying, well, what can this guy potentially be? A player who I do want to get to pretty quick, D-Mac. Sooners also get a commitment from Jakori Smith, linebacker, where we talked a little bit about it pre-show. But man, I always love your thoughts and opinions on the backer position. And since I had first dibs on that one, I'm gonna give you the floor on Jakori here.
Kip 2.0, baby. Kip 2.0. I have to watch more film and really pay attention to his ability to diagnose. I just remember watching Kip's film when he was coming out, lighter
Mm-hmm.
in the ass, but longer, rangier, who could fill out. And sure enough, Kip has guy who could diagnose, go get the ball, and come with bad intentions. A 6'1", 195-pound, probably junior weight, right? He's gonna weigh again in August, and see what he's weighing going into the season. I'd be willing to bet he's gonna put 204 or something like that, just
Yeah,
because
I bet you he ends
you
up
know what I
weighing
mean?
200 before he comes to
Yeah,
OU.
exactly, right? I think
100%.
he's a 204. It just looks better to be a college backer coming in at 204 versus 196.
Yep.
And so um the athleticism is there.
Mm-hmm.
The Again, I bet you they sold him on duplication of Kip. It's just an easy way for if I'm a 5'11", 195-pound slot receiver who's watching Brandon Daniels, who's a 5'10", 205-pound slot receiver, it's easy for me to see myself in Brandon Daniels. By the way, he was a dude. I think that's the thing that was a sell for Jakori, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I literally haven't talked to anybody in the program in months. I don't know, just haven't been able to. So, but I see the similarities. I see the mirror. Um, I want to see this season him be a difference maker in money downs and high school senior years. Those are, you can see the college guys. They know 3rd and 6. Generally a college offense has 4 to 6 bread and butter plays. And they'll run those 4 to 6 bread and butter plays when it matters. And generally, the guys who are watching film can start to diagnose. That was my experience. High school, my senior year was very easy. I was an all-state safety because I watched film and I said, oh, they're in 3-by-1. Their quarterback likes to run the flood. He likes to throw the speed out, right? I'm gonna tell my cornerback to sink. I'm gonna I'm gonna rob, and sure enough, that's a pick, or right, whatever the case may be. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes on an alpha perspective and really just takes it to the next notch. But a really solid recruit, going to Arkansas and get a kid who has the measurables you want, who has the athleticism you seek, will provide the depth I think OU wants to continue to stack.
Yep.
Good win for us. We needed the momentum. I think Nico is one of those omens that say, hey man, we've been sitting on a pine for 4 or 5 months now. You get Nico and then you stack him with the the Jakori kid. It's a good omen for us. You guys know recruiting generally, there's a lot of like the intangible feeling, the energy that precedes it. So good, solid pickup. Really good player. Looking forward to seeing him coming in, being a competitor, and potentially being a guy who we can depend on to start and really follow in the footsteps of Kip.
Yeah, to me, I think I don't see OU going too far away, especially with the way college football has gone, with like needing guys who can trigger in space, be super lengthy, have the if they don't have the size, they have length, and I think Jakori offers that, right? Kip isn't, Danny Stutzman stature, right? But
No.
he's got length. He takes up space. And his trigger is so quick that the height really doesn't mean a lot. And I think Jakori is in that same vein, right? You either be good at diagnosing with a quick trigger, or you're just a massive, super athletic guy. And then occasionally you get the best of both worlds. And then you have, elite top shelf guys. But to me, at backer, just some of the best feet in the high school class at that position. And it's easy to see when you got a guy who's light, right? Who just is going to move more like a receiver, a little more fluidly. But man, being able to trigger going forward and putting that foot in the ground, not everybody has OU level, acceleration, movement, the swivel of the hips, and he's a guy who has it. That there's other programs that obviously want him to be around, and I think now OU has shown with Kip that there is a path to, potential first, second, round NFL possibilities, which is where Kip is coming from. He's coming from a lightweight 200-pound backer when he arrived, with a quick trigger, good head on his shoulders, strong commitment to the process. And now he's going to be a 225, 230-pound backer on his way out of Norman, with a chance to, potentially go higher than Danny went in the draft. And it is a guy who just moves super fluid. So I think OU is trying to sit in that same vein. DMAC, already seeing it pop up in the chat a little bit, and want to transition a little bit to the QB discussion. This won't be a super long podcast today. There's honestly not a whole bunch of news to go in on, but there are some key things that I think Sooner Nation wants to hear us discuss. And when OU offered Jaden O'Neal back, it's been a while now. We initially discussed it. We both looked at him and said, man, one heck of a prospect, especially as he develops. And it's so funny how quickly at 2026 and 2024 feels like a long way off. And now it's just, it's just moving right along, and it couldn't be here any sooner. But you've got some OU, I won't say they've made some mistakes, because we don't know internally what is going on, but there does seem to be a bit of let's just call it miscommunication, misunderstanding. Maybe not, the parties just aren't fully aligned, is maybe the best way to put it, as it relates to O'Neal. And OU has looked elsewhere for the quarterback position, one being Bentley, and talented player. I have some, varying things to say that we'll get to. But DMAC, just quickly on the periphery, and maybe too from a player perspective, you're seeing a situation like this play out where O'Neal has seemingly been committed to Oklahoma. The family's committed to Oklahoma. There's relationships there. There's history there. But for some reason, he's still going to visit FSU. That there's still something going on. Talk about what you think is working with or against Oklahoma in this situation.
So this is a layered topic. I'm gonna, if I may, flush it out in 2 or 3 minutes, but I think there's a lot to speak to. The number one thing I think is here's optically where my concern lies. Jaden O'Neal comes from SoCal, a pretty good football conference where he played ball previously. He's going to Mustang. I think of the kid that Sperry, I believe is his name, who transitioned into Carl Albert and was very successful. I believe O'Neal is going to go to Mustang, have a platform, and ball. And for all the people who are saying Bo Bentley's the better player, which everyone's opinion is fair, fit in terms of system is fair, a Seth recruit versus a Arbuckle recruit is fair. I think all those things are fair, right? But I am going to tell you optically, let O'Neal come into Oklahoma as a kid who moved from Cali to Oklahoma and has gone into, whatever, 5A, I believe Mustang's a 5A school, and dominates. And here we are chasing this other kid. I'm gonna speak to Bo and some of the optics there too. That's gonna be problematic. I'd be willing to bet the kid goes to Oklahoma State or an Archie. Just because if you
Mm,
move that far away and things are happening the way they're happening, I think this is a year Rocky State is picking up a lot of momentum on OU caliber kids, KJ Jones and some of the other guys. I think this is a year where guys galvanize one another and say, hey, they're not showing us respect. Let's go do this thing together over there. Kids moved to Oklahoma already. I'm here to tell you, optically, what we don't need is to continue to chase Bo while Jaden moved to Oklahoma and balls at Mustang. Mustang's got some talent. Mustang is a school that not even on the come up anymore. People know about Mustang now. They've had some really good teams the last decade or so, and so that's one thing I want to put a button in that. The other thing is this: you brought it up, but Bo Bentley's got family history. He's a so-called Sooner fan. I shouldn't say so-called because I kind of like is a negative connotation, but he has proclaimed to be a Sooner fan in the past. All these rumors about the level of talent there versus here and the history there versus the history here. I even saw some of the things he said in the past article that Park posted on OU Insiders. Here's the deal. Last 20 years, name a school who's had more successful college quarterbacks that have now gone on to the NFL and are starters. Name them.
mm,
Name them. Baker Mayfield is a Pro Bowl quarterback. Kyler Murray, it has been to a Pro Bowl and is a starter, an entrenched starter who just re-upped and got paid big time. Do we want to talk about the Eagles? Right? We don't even need to claim Caleb, but Caleb put on a cape in October in a freshman year campaign as an Oklahoma Sooner, and then went on with Link to be a Heisman Trophy winner. So I'm like, there's Joe Burrow, and they brought up Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels is legit, right? So Jaden Daniels legit, Joe Burrow's legit, but like it's not like OU is chopped liver as it relates to quarterbacks, right? Oh, you got Chase Daniels and you got your boy at Minnesota. We have CD Lamb as an entrenched one as well. So, like again, the recent history of OU, it's not like you're gonna play at tip top or like Handkerchief University. OU has put out dudes the last 10 years in the offensive defensive side of the ball, running backs, tight ends. I mean, we've got all pros still playing right now at OU. Again, you can't compete at the tip top tier with the two number one receivers in Minnesota and in Cincinnati, but OU's got an all pro tight end in Baltimore. They've
mm-hmm.
got a number one receiver in Dallas. This is all very recent stuff. So I'm like, I don't buy the talent disparity because you have one subpar year with a OC that they got rid of and have replaced with the OC that Bo Bentley's family literally knows. Like that is literally, a value proposition that says, hey, we addressed that need. We addressed that area. I think there's more to it. I think we need to park Barry. I think we do need to say we as OU fans are biased towards the fact that we have a bird in the hand, and we want to say, "Yo, we want to keep Jaden until we figure
Yeah.
out what happens with Bo." But on the other end of the coin is it's not unfair for Bo to say, "You guys kind of have a committed quarterback, so I want to keep my options open in case there's a school that doesn't have one and they only have space for me." Like they only want to deal with me. So I, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I have to give parlay for that, because we have a committed quarterback, and I don't think we want to let him go and be stuck with plan Bs or plan Cs. But it sounds to me like Arbuckle feels like Bentley's the better prospect for his system. I think if you were to have those guys do an agility test, our Bo Bentley probably is a more agile, fluid, oft script runner and thrower. But um, O'Neill's not a statue, nor is he 4'9", 40, right? And he's a bigger, more girthy individual. And we all know, you know, 6'1", 212 pound QBs, middle backers are just chomping at the bit to get to tag those guys. 6'2" and a half, 6'3", 235 pound quarterbacks. Nobody wants to get in their way once they get ahead of steam. And so as far as I'm concerned, they both have their pluses as it relates to their athleticism. I'm just telling you, Cam Newton in the open field, you know what I'm saying? Jalen Hurts in the open field versus Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is kind of like, a chicken in a coop trying to catch him. But if you catch him, ain't nobody scared to lean on him. Not too many people trying to run up on Jalen Hurts, and they know he can deliver the blow too. So I look at the two Qs, and who I pick is it doesn't matter who my fave is. I like the bird in the hand. If Bo was the guy we had and Jaden was the guy we were pursuing, I would have more a loyalty to the kid who said, I'm moving across country, I'm playing ball. And again, I just telling you guys, it's gonna suck optically if he goes to Mustang and leads them to a state championship. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Gonna
That's
look
gonna be
awful.
bad optically if that happens. And then Bo Bentley is, by the way, Bo Bentley, I think, has won like 2 or 3 in a row at a much smaller.
Yeah.
He's in like a 3A or something like that.
Yeah.
I actually
Selena.
saw him.
Yeah.
I actually saw him last year in state. Like, yo, that kid's kind of nice. When I was watching all the state championship stuff in Dallas, but I'm just telling you, we've gotta address this one correctly. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. I was staunchly on initially, we need to stick with Jaden O'Neil, in terms of loyalty, and to me that principles thing was really important. But then, you started to think like, you know what, that is a Seth. Jaden was a Seth kid, and nobody asked Jaden. There was no like, prerequisite of you got to move to Oklahoma for us to see you up close. That was kind of something they decided to do on their own, and it
For
is
sure.
big money, big business. So I don't want to discount the fact that like people are making decisions for business reasons with 18-year-olds now, not 21-year-olds like they were when Roy was going out. That was a big deal for Roy as a 21-year-old fourth-year player. Um, I I hate to fence it. I hate to fence it. I'm not gonna fence it. I still think today, right now, and I'm on OU Insider. 80% of the guys on OU Insider are Bo Bentley fans, and they're waiting for him to commit, and they think that's the big deal.
Mm.
I just don't know. Listen. I was the biggest Jackson Arnold fan and thought he'd be a perfect fit for Levy's. I mean, he ran Levy's offense and
Yep.
and and and, and 6A Texas football against dudes. I saw the kid be a man amongst boys at in Denton, running the offense of the OC that was handpicking him, right? So I just don't know if that necessarily is going to translate. I saw that he said, "Hey, I did the All American game and I felt like I could compete." I think that's important. That was super dope to hear him. He said
Sure.
out of his own mouth in the article.
Yeah.
But if you made me pick today, I think I'm probably still a Jaden guy. I give the disclaimer of watching their senior film. I want to see how they play this season. But I'm just telling you, Barry, the thing that I was really kind of processing is like, ooh, kid moves to Oklahoma. What if he wins a state championship and is a man out there throwing the ball where it needs to go and going to get first downs like he needs to? Think about this. No one ever said Patrick Mahomes is going to the league to be a two-way quarterback. Patrick could throw that thing, but on 3rd and 7, he'll get you 9,
Yeah.
even at Tech. Patrick, I mean, he actually did have some longer runs, some 30, 40 yards, but like Patrick wasn't a guy you game plan to stop the run. You knew he was going to throw that thing anywhere on the field. And to me, that's kind of more in line with Jaden Daniels, where like he's an underappreciated athlete, but an extreme high ceiling quarterback. versus Bo Bentley. People are thinking about, oh, he can go get you 10 with his feet and go get you 10 with his arm, and he can do all this off-schedule stuff, but he's doing it against dudes who are probably going to be playing at Texas State, Nazarene Christian, and the Arch Manning's competition in high school of the world. So that's my take.
Well, I'm not sitting on the fence at all on this. I'm going to tell you guys straight up, Jaden O'Neal is a way better player than Bo Bentley. And for me, it's like not even is it not close, D-Mac?
Wow.
It is.
Whoa. You said Jaden O'Neal is head and shoulders better.
Is better than Bentley, 100%.
Yo,
Jaden O'Neal will be a better elite college quarterback than Bo Bentley will be. If the day comes where that's not true, I'll eat it. But I'm gonna check mark some things. Just cleaner release, O'Neal.
Your DM's about to blow up, bro. Your DM's about to be on fire. If I say when I say stuff like that, my DM's be on fire.
And that's okay. So release O'Neal. Quicker trigger with the feet, O'Neal. The ability to assess and diagnose space, which for me is like my number one looking at when guys are playing at the high school level. I will say the one thing for Jackson that we probably should have seen was he wasn't like a Baker in high school. When you watch Baker in Lake Travis, he was throwing guys open a lot. He was throwing passes into spaces where like he was quarterbacking, he was playing point guard. Whereas Jackson, because of the style they played, there was a lot of throw it up and let your athlete go get it. We should have been a little more on top of that and saw that. But I challenge everybody on here, go watch both sets of tape, O'Neal, and then go watch Bentley and look at how Bentley handles pressure. Look at how O'Neal handles pressure. And then once that pressure is in their face, just count the seconds or half or quarter seconds it takes before that trigger is initiated. You're talking about the difference in trigger from like a Caleb Williams to Spencer Rattler in terms of the ability to escape and be mobile. And I think it's unfair to hold level of play against Arch Manning, but then not hold it against Bentley. And Bentley isn't playing at the level Arch was playing at.
No.
And Arch may come back and, he's so far looked like a pretty solid college quarterback. But for me, size, arm talent, accuracy, the ability to assess and diagnose space, for me, it is Jaden O'Neal on top of just the commitment and willingness to move to Oklahoma to play on, which by the way, Mustang, they can run a program. They are going to have his body right. By the time he is ready to play college quarterback for Oklahoma, he will be a dude. Mustang has some of the best track athletes in the state of Oklahoma. They got the female and male. They just know they have a well-run program. There's a reason why he went to Mustang and not even a Jinx or a big, like Mustang is producing higher level upper echelon athletes than even a Jinx or a Bixby is right now. They have some young talent who is just out of this world. The best long jumper in the state is at Mustang, who's jumping 20 plus. Like for Texas, it's not crazy, but for
20
Oklahoma,
plus. Man,
yeah,
I jumped 22-1 as a junior. 20
yeah,
plus
she's a
is
female
cute.
though.
Oh, balling. No. That's legit. 20 feet as a woman is legit.
She's legit. She's I
That's
forget
legit.
what school she's going to, but she's legit. Girl I train is all she's she just recently had a good meet. She jumped 18.4.
By the way,
which
some
is
kid
really
ran
solid.
10-1 in Oklahoma, bro. 10-1-2 or something like that.
Insane.
Like fastest kid ever.
Insane. The amount of 9.8s that we are seeing now, man, are you kidding me? It is absurd. I don't care if there's wind or not. 9.8 at the high school level is dumb. That there's
Context. I watched Maurice Joan, wait. Maurice, what was his name? This used to lick his lips. Anyway, I remember when he ran 977 as the fastest man in the world for USA in like '02. What was that guy's name? Maurice, gosh dang it, light skinned, bald headed black dude running for USA. Used to lick his lips a lot like he was LL Cool J, but he ran 9.7 as like the fastest American on
Yeah,
the US Olympics. Now,
yeah,
high school kids,
yeah.
bananas,
The
bananas,
sub anything under 10 is just
bananas.
insane. So I guess it's clear where we both stand on this. For me, if I'm OU, I'm chips all in on O'Neal. And here's the thing too, like it is
We're gonna be on your butt, bro. I'm just
that's all
letting you
right,
know.
man. That is all right. For me, it is a situation where Arbuckle may not even be around if he has well, because Mateer has how many years? Mateer has two,
Hmm.
right?
He can have to.
Yeah, so he may not even be around for when old dude shows up, and the point may be moot in general because Arbuckle may get a head coaching job in 2 years if he uses Mateer, leverages that to flip this thing around. So the whole point may not even end up mattering a whole lot. But it will be interesting to see. DMAC, any other kind of just general thoughts around the program and what we've seen this offseason? It's not that things have been quieter. I wouldn't say that, but it does feel like since OU brought in Nagy, that the direction and sort of the conciseness of everything. Things just feel a little bit more snug and buttoned up in terms of like who's getting offered and how many prospects are getting offered and all that. Do you have any kind of just context or thoughts on what we've seen as OU fans?
I think there's been a culture shift. A lot of people were belaboring the reason why. Why aren't we having more recruits? Why aren't we having more commits? Why aren't we hearing more, just updates in the recruiting space? And I think you're right. I mean, I've heard firsthand that some of the position coaches are upset that the power to have autonomy over their commits has kind of been they've been kind of hamstrung, working with one hand tied behind their back. So I know there is some chemistry kind of like pecking order style decisions that are happening now in the hierarchy of who's a committable offer. And so I think to kind of what you alluded to um, is a point. By the way, this is going to sound so harsh to say, but I think Nagy's in a position where he probably has permission to um, make decisions not based upon I don't want to say desperation, but I would just say putting all your chickens in one basket, which we all believe BV and the rest of the coaching staff have this year. In other words, Nagy's a guy who I think his employment is not attached to BV's success this season. And I think
Mm,
he's taking the approach of I'm trying to make sure we take care of business the next 3 to 5 years versus BV plus our coaches who are like, yo, we got to put all our eggs in this basket. We've got to make sure we've set ourselves up to be successful now. I would presume that that message has been articulated from um, Castiglione down that yo guys, you got to figure it out, and that has created some friction because at this juncture in recruiting in today's landscape, you would think we would be putting more pressure on more kids to commit and have more guys situated in our cupboard for the just for the cycle. So yeah, I think that part, and again, that's just my own intuition. Again, I've had people firsthand tell me that there have been position coaches who there's a guy who would have committed who they've established a relationship with, and I think this part, actually, let me say this to be uh OU, if that's the case, OU is going to have some issues with this cycle because recruiting isn't done in 3 days, 3 weeks, even 3 months. Recruiting generally isn't done in one season. Recruiting's done between the sophomore and junior year, and then the icing on the cake is the junior year summer to the senior season. And so a lot of the guys who, like the Norman North receiver who was ready to commit, like KJ Jones who was ready to commit, right? We make this change, and guys you've built relationships with for 2 and 3 cycles, 2 or 3 seasons, those kind of, you rip the Band-Aid and those guys are kind of left like, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But again, the 27 recruits, 28 recruits, you would think now that there's a clear criteria for what they're looking for, a clear framework for this is what we're looking for in this particular position group. I think the coaches can then go hit the, the recruiting ranks all over the country and establish those relationships now so that the 27, 28, 29 cycles can be more clear. But I don't think what Nagy's doing is good for BV. I honestly don't
Mm.
think Coach Venables is getting put in the best position. I think it's kind of a result of 2 out of 3 subpar seasons at a place like Oklahoma.
It's the transition to professional sports, but Presti, if Dagenhall doesn't do a good job in the Western Conference
Oh,
Finals,
y'all was ready to tar and feather, bro. Y'all
not
was ready
this
to, yeah,
guy. No,
yeah,
sir.
y'all
Not
was ready to tar and feather
they
him.
were, man. They were. There were some questionable decisions. I think he single-handedly lost game one. That was all coaching completely. So that was rough. Hey, before we get out of here, want to let everybody know BY's Fitness, the gym located in South Tulsa, for the summer, guys, $25 a month. If you're an athlete just looking to get in shape, we're running a promo. We finally have the stuff to expand the membership base and really broaden out there and scale it a little bit. So just want to let everybody know we are running memberships. If you are in the South Tulsa area and you're tired of training at, insert big box gym and you want a feeling of some more personal touch, the ability to get some better coaching, have athletes, former athletes, trainers, the like, all there around you, helping you figure things out. If you're another athlete just trying to navigate and get better, youth, high school, college, pro, whatever the case may be, come check us out. DMAC, before we get out of here, the Western Conference, Eastern Conference finals are set. Who meets in the finals and who gets it done? So we got Indiana and New York on the east side,
Oh
which
yeah, oh
I
yeah, oh
picked
yeah.
Indiana all the
You
way.
did, you
Indiana
did.
was my pick. I thought they were just the defense improved just enough. And then, of course, we got Minnesota and OKC jumping off on Tuesday. But DMAC, who gets the finals? Who wins?
Tangent. Shout out to the girls again, handling business in the regional softball. I have always been a closet fan. We would go to the games and we were obnoxious. Of course, my tenure at OU, we won our first natty in softball, and so it was extremely fun to watch them go out there and kick butt. OSU was a big game. We were in the stands. OSU sucks. I mean, we were and it was the football guys. It was salute. So salute to the ladies. We want to see the continued success. It would be just phenomenal to see them with a young team learning on the fly, coach not having essentially the best pitchers in the land, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
had some issues at the pitching position. Our young runners on the base paths, they've been having issues running the bases. To see them continue to grow and develop, I'm super proud of them. And it makes me proud to wear this interlocked OU. They represent that's not championship DNA. Your championship DNA won't let you lose a game you could potentially lose if you didn't have it. And to see them really just grit, fight, and grind. I'm excited for them. I wouldn't bet on them this year. This is the first time in probably 5 years I wouldn't bet on OU to win it, but I am proud of what they've done thus far, and I want to see them continue to just grow, get better, and
Agreed.
put a product that I'm proud of. Like if the football team was playing like that, it would just be a product that have more pride in. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, and I know I'm an old man and I literally have salt and pepper beard, but like I feel like, and fans, let me know if I'm wrong. I just feel like OU fans were proud of the brand of football we played. Because
Mm.
25 years later, I still poke my chest out and say, SEC, y'all cute, but my years, y'all were also ran conference. The SEC was not a big boy conference in the early 2000s. They weren't. The facts are the facts. You can go and look at it. And just to be a Sooner, I don't even want to necessarily speak to them. I just want to speak to us. we play hard ass football. We had some heartbreaks where we didn't win, but we left everything on the field.
That's what
We
it
had some
is.
games where we lost on the scoreboard, but we kicked their
Yeah.
ass in between those lines. We had some games where a couple of players who were NFL dudes played at their best, but we met the challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even the game in Norman where the kid from Millwood had those two crazy catches, and then the kicker kicked like the game we lost to OSU in 2001, when
Yep.
Roy was the best player on the field besides the receiver who was, I forgot his name. He was the
Rashawn
49.
Woods.
There it is.
Rashawn Woods.
Dude, the kicker makes like 2 50-yard field goals, which is
Yeah.
wild.
Fluke.
And then Rashawn is out there handling his business too. Like the softball team, back to what I was saying, that's how they play, and I just love it. I just love the way Patty's got those young ladies representing the university, and I'm super grateful to be alumni and watching them handle business the way they do. I do think BV can get our guys back. I think he understands that because, again, when we played, I can't think of one game, my years. I can't speak of like Landry Jones. Those are when I started to be like, "Ugh." But our years, we didn't win every game. 90 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2000, even 2002 is when I graduated. But even '03, that K-State loss, go look on that roster of who K-State has. That obviously we know who LSU and USC had in '04. Makes me proud. So I do want to make sure I took a solid 2 minutes to pay homage to our softball team. And of course, remind you guys we kicked ass 25 years ago. Uh,
There you
now,
go,
here we go.
man.
Here we go. NBA, all four teams I'd be excited for. It doesn't make sense for me to not be an OKC fan. OKC came to Oklahoma when I was back. I was actually going to do my master's there initially. I ended up going home to do it. I remember when Chris Paul and I remember when KD was a Sonic, and then they were transitioning the team. I think dude's name was Clay something, was a part of the
Clay
investment group.
Bennett. Yep.
There it is. Clay Bennett and those guys were a part of that group. I remember all of that. And so I was always excited for my teammates at the time. Jay Hunt comes to mind. Ahmed Kaba comes to mind. Just P. Fletch, God rest his soul. Those guys were extremely excited to have a professional basketball team. And so OKC, I'd love to see them win the Natty, the ship. Coming out the East, man, how about that, right? Like both Cleveland and Boston. What?
Yep.
And belt to ass, both of them. You know what I'm saying? Like New York put belt to ass game 6. So
Mm-hmm.
none of us, anybody my age or younger, has never seen the Knicks win a championship. They've never won that in my
Facts.
years in life. So that's an interesting deal. And then Indy is another team that I just like their style of
Mm-hmm.
play. Man, Indy versus OKC could be 140 to 140.
That is the team for me. If you're an OKC fan, New York all day. You feel like you can go toe to toe. You can force them into turnovers. Jalen Brunson, as long as it's not closeout time, he is prone to a turnover over or two. And they've had times where OG Anunoby has not played real
For
well.
sure.
So to me, Indiana is a team where bench depth, they can go player for player with OKC up to about the 8th or ninth guy. And that no other team left has that. OKC
Yeah,
still has to
Knicks
get
have no
past.
bench.
Yeah, no
Knicks have no
bench.
bench. Knicks have
Still
no
got to
bench.
get past Minnesota. Minnesota is going to be one heck of a challenge. Anthony Edwards is been on a mission for the past 2-3 years. He is one of my favorite players in the league to watch, like bar none. Phenomenal athlete, the kind of baby Jordan in terms of that respect. But man, I still think OKC comes out of the West and gets it done. Who do you think wins it all, though? Who gets it done?
Well, before I do that, I want to know. I know you're picking OKC,
Oh,
but
of course.
in how many games?
OKC over Minnesota in 6.
So in Minnesota, they're gonna
Yeah.
beat Minnesota in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
Okay,
going to get
and
them done in 6. I think Minnesota. I think they. Oh, I think they probably split the home, and I think it's going to be a Denver situation where you're coming into this. You've just played 7 games. I think they possibly drop one at home, but the Minnesota turns the ball over like crazy, and OKC is just dominant in that respect. That's what they did today, and then
oh
they're
my
up by 40
God,
points. Insane. So for me, they get it over Minnesota
6.
in 6.
So I think they win in 5 or 7. I think OKC comes out the West, but I think they have to do it at home. That let me just tell you, and you know this. I think they played. Did they knock out OKC last year? Who knocked out OKC last year?
Dallas knocked out OKC last
Dallas
year.
did. Okay, cool. Well, Minnesota has length and will play defense. It's gonna be a bloodfest. This Western Conference Final is gonna be lot. I mean, McDaniel, Nazir, Ant Man. I mean, they on that side. Minnesota can lock down too. So that's going to be a fun series. I think the difference maker is OKC can make threes versus Minnesota, who struggles sometimes shooting the football and making open looks. So that I think that'll be the case. Coming out the East, I kind of want the Knicks to win, although
Yeah.
I think Indy's going to try to run it. You watch. Indy is going to on makes. Indy's going to be back into the secondary fast break. The Knicks are going to make a bucket, and Indy's going to be racing down down the floor because they're going to be trying to get those guys tired. You're right. Big Body Brunson in the fourth quarter is the best clutch player in the NBA. I don't even think it's close. Jokic was close the last two playoffs, but this playoff he was not nearly. Again, shout out to OKC for making him work the entire 48 minutes every game. I think that really turned him into a human. Be interesting to see how teams play him next year because I think playing him small with a guy who's gritty, right, like Caruso, is a way to really. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But I do hope the Knicks win. I think that pedigree and the star power of the
Yeah.
Knicks can get the job done. But Halliburton's one of those guys that when he's unconscious, he's unconscious. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't give a damn that the Cavs were like, we're gonna try to come back. The game they won the game. If you remember, the Cavs were up 20.
Yeah.
The Cavs were up 20, and
Yep.
he just kept making threes, and then by the time it got to 12, it was like, oh man, these guys are gonna lose. So I would like the Knicks to win. I actually am gonna take the Knicks. If the Knicks play against OKC, the OKC is gonna win in 5. I
Yeah.
think they beat the brakes off the Knicks. But if Indiana and OKC play, I think I'm literally gonna take the over every game for $1,000 and see what happens. I bet you.
Yeah.
I bet you I hit more than often than not, simply because both teams are going to be in a track meet, and that should be good times. Give me OKC. I think the Sooner State deserves it. I think OKC has the best team left in the tournament. Boston with a healthy Tatum would have given them some trouble just
Oh
because of
yeah.
their ability to hit the three. But I think OKC wins it. I don't think OKC beats Minnesota on Minnesota's floor to close it out. I think they win in 5 or win in 7. I think OKC beats the Knicks in 5, and I do believe because I believe the finals is still a 2-3-2 format. I believe it still is.
The no, it's 2-2-2-1-1-1s
They
now.
changed it to
Yeah,
2-2-1-1-1.
they've since changed it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so then if that's the case, I do think they could be either team on their floor in the finals. So give me OKC in 5 or 7 against Minnesota. Give me OKC in 6 in the NBA championship.
Killer, man. It's gonna be real good. This has been one of the highest rated playoffs in a minute. Just because of the physicality, the rivalries, the play. To me, this has been the most entertaining NBA playoffs in a minute. But guys, let us know who you all think is gonna win. Let us know, O'Neal or Bentley. Put that in the comments. So, where should OU go with that? And as always, man, keep the discussion flowing down there. It is fantastic. Everybody want to thank you all for hopping on today. We will see you soon.